We begin with a stark warning from the United Nations humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher, who has told the BBC that 14,000 babies could die in Gaza within the next 2 days unless aid reaches them. Israel began a blockade of Gaza 11 weeks ago. On Monday, it began to ease it, but witnesses saying just 5 trucks crossed into the territory. The UN says that is a drop in the ocean. It has been given permission for as many as 100 trucks to cross into Gaza today. We have some pictures that can show you some of those trucks moving through the checkpoints in the last few hours. But according to Tom Fletcher, unless that aid delivery operation is significantly and immediately increased, thousands of lives in Gaza are at risk. He's been speaking to my colleague Anna Foster.
Well, these are robust words, and it's welcome. I mean, there's clearly a dialing up of the collective international position because the situation is dire. The real test of the words will be whether we can get that aid in. We are there on the border right now. We have thousands of trucks ready to go. We know how to do this. We've done it before, and we are demanding that the world back us in pushing Israel to let us get in and reach those people who are starving right now.
And yesterday it was five trucks of aid that went in, not fit for purpose in this case.
No, that's a drop in the ocean. And let's be clear, those 5 trucks are just sat on the other side of the border right now. They've not reached the communities they need to reach. And, let me describe what is on those trucks. This is baby food, baby nutrition. There are 14,000 babies that will die in the next 48 hours unless we can reach them. This is not food that Hamas are going to steal. No, we run the risk of looting. We run the risks of being hit as part of the Israeli military offensive. We run all sorts of risks trying to get that baby food through to those mothers who cannot feed their children right now because they're malnourished.
You've spoken out already about the new Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, essentially the mechanism that Israel wants to bring in to distribute aid, to get it into the Strip and to get it to people once it's there. Humanitarian organisations and you say that what you have in place already works perfectly well. So when that UN aid is requested by this new distribution mechanism, you're left with a really difficult and delicate decision to make about whether to hand it over. What will you do?
We've got to keep on getting as much aid through our mechanism as we can. We can do this at scale. We did it during the ceasefire, 42 days, 600 trucks, 700 trucks, dwarfing anything they're talking about doing through this dodgy modality. We know how to do this. We can do it in line with humanitarian principles. And the world, the international community, the donors who provided that aid are very, very clear with us that this is the only way to do it. To go with the other modality would actually be to support the objectives of the military offensive and to further dehumanize and humiliate those civilians who badly need that aid.
So you won't be handing over, as the UN, you won't be handing over that aid to this new mechanism to be distributed through them?
We've got to get the aid in ourselves. We reckon clearance for 100 or so trucks to go through today, I hope. Now, it will be very tough. We get impeded at every point. But we'll load those up with that baby food and our people will run those risks. I've been talking to them this morning. They are incredibly courageous. They know what's lying ahead of them: looting, insecurity, the war overhead, the war all around them. But people inside Gaza are so desperate right now, and we will do whatever we can to get to them.
That looting and insecurity, that is the reason that Israel has given for trying to change the mechanism. I just wonder, looking ahead, Israel has made it clear that they only want this new mechanism to be used to distribute aid. So potentially we are in a situation where, as you say, there is thousands of trucks, thousands of tons of aid waiting to be used. And it might not get there if you won't give it to the new mechanism. What would you do in that situation?
We are insisting, and we'll carry on insisting with all our partners, and you've heard those strong voices raised across the international community, that we have unimpeded aid in line with humanitarian principles. We know how to do this. We've got the people inside. We know how to stop Hamas getting anywhere near this aid and making sure it gets to the civilians who so badly need it. There isn't an alternative to that. And so we'll keep trying. And I think you'll hear those voices very, very clear across the international community in support of what we're doing.
You talked about the need to prevent genocide in Gaza. And obviously your use of that word as a member of the UN has attracted attention. Have you had any pushback about your, I presume, well-informed choice to use that word?
Well, I did pick my words very carefully in the Security Council and weighed with great thought and care what I should say. I felt that we needed to jolt the international community. We needed this wake-up call. People can see what's going on, but we as humanitarians, because we're on the ground, we've got the most informed view. We're there every day. And of course, this is a crisis that as journalists, you can't get in to cover. So we know what's going on. And I felt it was important to drive that home to the Security Council. You know, I'm not a lawyer. You know, it's for the lawyers and the politicians over time to decide what this has been. But I'm very conscious that with previous war crimes, Srebrenica, Rwanda, etc., we didn't move fast enough to call on the world to prevent it. And I'm doing everything I can to raise my voice and encourage others to raise their voice to prevent that.
So on that point, looping back to that statement that we were talking about, it talks about if Israel doesn't cease the renewed military offensive and lift its restrictions on humanitarian aid, we'll take further concrete actions in response. In your opinion, what do those actions need to be, and how soon do they need to happen if there is no change in the situation?
Well, I think the challenge here is that it doesn't really matter what I say. It really matters what Israeli ministers are saying. And several of them, very prominent ministers, are clear that they want to use starvation as a weapon of war, and that they will do everything possible to prevent us getting that aid in to save lives. So I think you're seeing that clear ratcheting up from those countries and beyond those countries, you know, incredibly strong statements in the last few days. You'd have to ask them what they might do next. There's a big conference coming up at the end of June at which several countries may recognize a Palestinian state. Several countries have trade deals. Some countries are still providing arms to this Israeli military offensive. So they do have a toolkit of measures that they could take. For me right now, what I most need them to do is insist unequivocally that we get in at scale. I want to get thousands and thousands of trucks through. I want to save as many of these 14,000 babies as we can in the next 48 hours.
UN's humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, speaking to Anna Foster there. And he was talking about the thousands of babies that he is worried about in Gaza that could die in the next few days if aid doesn't reach them. I've been speaking to Amal El-Abdallah. She's a mother in Gaza. She gave birth to one of her sons on October the 7th. For months, she searched for baby formula. She even sent her brothers into the rubble of demolished buildings to try and find it, and they've come back empty-handed. Eventually, she gave up, but she did find a mother who was able to breastfeed him. She joined me a short time ago from Gaza and told me what life is like for them today.
Day by day, my kids are getting thin and tired. They're not playing like normal boys because most of the time we're skipping meals, like 2 meals a day we skip. Sometimes we just stick to 1 meal for both of them.
We know that your baby, Mohammed, was born on October the 7th.
Yes.
What a life little Mohammed has had so far. When you look back, how would you describe the life that your baby has had?
I believe that their childhood have been stolen from them because they have never lived like any normal child in the world. They missing like minimum things for them, like food and to sleep in calm night to find safety. And he haven't lived any good day at all.